Welcome to Before Floor, the pregame edition of Five on the Floor, brought to you by the 5 Reasons Sports Network. As always, if you guys, if you're driving home, make sure you guys, of course, get home safe. And if you guys are in a safe spot, make sure you guys like the video. Make sure you guys subscribe as well. And if you guys are a Heat fan and you're young and with a family, you want to make sure that all your assets are taken care of. You want to make sure you go to markbrownpa.com, right? He's going to take care of all your assets if something happens to you in this crazy world. So like I said, give him a call, 954-866-8513, or visit his website at marcbrownpa.com. What he's going to do, he's going to take care of all your assets. If you don't know what I'm talking about, he'll give you a free consultation. That's the best part about it. He's located in the South Florida area, pretty much services the entire area. And like I said, he's a Heat fan, so make sure you give your business to a Heat fan and not some Celtics fan or a Lakers fan or anything like that. So like I said, give him a call, 954-866-8513, or reach out to him, marcbrownpa.com. Now, every single day, we play our prize picks. Marco Romo is like 99% on these prize picks, man. But you want to make sure you maximize your money, right? It's daily fantasy. You just pick a player. You pick if they'll go over or under on points, rebounds, assists. We keep it really simple here on the 5 Reasons pregame show. You want to maximize your money, right? So make sure you use the promo code 5. We'll match your deposit up to $100. So that way, whenever you do play, you're playing with free money. So like I said, go to PrizePicks.com, use that promo code 5. And like I said, we will match your deposit up to $100.
Yes. Welcome to Before Floor, today's pregame show with myself, Jonathan Ramlakan, and Marco Romo, joined by the consistent Mateo Mayorga 23. Mateo, how are you doing today?
Fabulous as always, my friend. How are you?
Flu game for me, but it is my favorite holiday, second favorite holiday of the year, coming up tomorrow and Sunday. So I'm excited. We got some Heat basketball tonight, and we have everyone healthy. But before we get to, well, not everyone, Yurtsevin is still out, but that's besides the point. Before we get to the actual basketball, there were some rumors that, of course, we have to address. So we're going to go ahead and talk about some fake basketball. So there was rumors that Trae Young potentially could want out of Atlanta at the end of this season if things don't go to plan. Maybe he's butting heads with management, with coaching. Not really sure exactly what the story is there. I know we've heard some ruffling of feathers with Nate McMillan before. But knowing what you know about Trae Young, Mateo, what is the most that you think the Heat should be willing to entertain giving up for a player of Trae Young's caliber if he were to be on the market this offseason?
Well, sir, I'm glad you asked. Let me answer it this way. Bear with me, please. Do you see this fat, ugly zero right here? It's about the best of what I'd offer for Trae Young. I don't deny that he's a very talented player, an out-of-the-gate attraction, certainly one of the best scorers in the league, but he's not my type of hooper. When he's off ball, I think he's a useless player. He looks like a statue on one wing, while on the opposite side, the other ball handler is starting to conduct the offense. It looks like Atlanta starts in those situations to play 4-on-5. It really hurts them, Gad, but my biggest problem with him is on the defensive end. Apart from being 6'1", maybe at best, he has short arms and is very skinny. It really doesn't inspire much confidence for improvement on that side of the floor when you combine that with his low defensive IQ. I'm very firm, and you know me, when your best player gives you 0 or next to nothing on defense, I don't think you can win that way. People may be able to point to outliers in NBA history, maybe a couple or a few who did it that way, but I wouldn't put or attach most of my stock to a player like that who has so many holes on the defensive end.
Honestly, for as much as I don't like Trae Young very much, I think I would agree. I disagree with you on the sense that I would take Trae Young in Miami, but I'm not going to entertain packages because I personally don't see it as realistic. But it is nice to know that we do agree on the fact that you do need to have players that can play on the defensive end. Maybe you can have one liability at most, but maybe one, and that guy has to be elite offensively. Trae Young has been that in the past. He has not been that this season. But I don't want to spend too much time talking about players on other teams unless we're actually playing against them. That is something that is probably going to be swept under the rug over the next couple of weeks. But I do want to talk about the last game before we get to this current game against the Pacers. Against the Bulls, it was an up-and-down performance. What did you see from the Heat during that game?
Well, there was a lot of quarter to quarter disparity in terms of scoring, Gad. And I think the biggest issue with that is Miami was down 3 out of their 5 starters. And those type of things tend to happen on when you're undermanned. And Miami wasn't just, well, one of those guys they were missing was their primary decision maker and conductor of the half court offense. That would be Kyle Lowry. Missing Butler and Martin, you're missing wing scoring, some defense, plus some playmaking. It's a shame Miami had to run into 2 very talented scorers and DeMar DeRozan and Zach LaVine, plus the very skilled big man who always seems to give the Heat trouble when they face off. Speaking of Nikola Vucevic, but truthfully, Gad, I don't think if Miami was so undermanned, they suffer such a backbreaking 30-7 run in the third quarter that really did them in. That was just horrifying to watch. And it's very frustrating because I think those things happen when you don't have someone like your best player on the floor. And it's very cool to see that he's right now warming up with the intent to play.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's fair. Simultaneously, part of me wants to say, hey, a group of Tyler Hero, Bam Adebayo, and like a couple other guys who are NBA caliber should be able to get something done. But I think what we've seen time and time again is when Jimmy's not on the floor and Bam doesn't really have it going that night, they turn into a really jump shooting heavy team and a team that will just bomb away from three. Sometimes you're going to get good variance. Sometimes you're not going to get good variance. And that was one of those nights they just played ugly, ugly offense. Not a lot of movement, not a lot of ball movement, player movement, not a lot of moving of the defense. The Bulls were pretty much able to do whatever they wanted. Felt like Vooch didn't even have to play defense for half of the game. And he got away with that, which is the worst part. But I agree. I think if they do have their guys in that game, it does change a little bit, specifically if Jimmy Butler is playing because, I mean, listen, Jimmy Butler, best player on the floor in a lot of the games that he's going to be playing in this season. So with Jimmy Butler being back, with Kyle Lowry being back, Caleb Martin, and now Gabe Vincent maybe even being back tonight, what's your expectation going into this game against Indiana? They're playing at home, and I think they've split 1-1 with the Pacers so far. They 0-2.
I think they won 1 in their latest win streak, I believe. I maybe.
No. I think you're right. That sounds about right. They had that 4-game win streak on the road. So what's your expectation for the game tonight against the Pacers?
Well, Gad, it has to do a lot with how I think the team's what the atmosphere is like. I would imagine that a lot of anxiety is starting to creep in because they're 16-16. It's 500. They haven't been able to secure home court. They're barely over 500 in that regard, and over 39% of the season has passed. Now that they're getting their guys back, I'm expecting more of a defensive effort on the floor tonight. Someone like Jimmy, if he's now that he's warming up with the intent to play, I think it'll be tougher for the guards like Therese Halliburton and Benedict Mathurin to get inside the lane and finish from there. But as of now, right now, well, when the Heat are whole, they haven't been whole all year, but they've showed with, guys in and guys out that they've still been able to put up a top 10 defense in terms of defensive rating. So I think they should be able to keep the score, closer to 100 tonight, actually.
Yeah, that's totally fair. I mean, with Jimmy and Bam on the floor, you're almost always going to have a quote-unquote good defense. Right. And now you kind of add in those role players who I think are genuine positives on that end, like a Caleb Martin, like Victor Oladipo, like Vincent. Now potentially Gabe Vincent when he's healthy, because we've seen some streaky defense from him this season. I know he's one of my guys, but I don't think we've seen him perform to his capabilities on that end this season. So we're going to go ahead and get into some rapid-fire prize picks. I have to pull these up real quick because we don't have the expertise of three-piece combo, Jonathan Ramlakan, doing it today. So we're going to start with some points here, and I guess they actually do have the lines up for our players. So just give me a quick yes.
What a surprise.
No, or over or under.
Sure.
Jimmy Butler, 20.5 points.
I'm going to go with the over on this one. He missed the last game. Jimmy is a master of getting inside the paint. I don't think there's anyone really in Indiana who can stay in front of him when he's starting to attack from the perimeter. I think if he starts posting up not by the elbow, in the low post, he could really inflict some damage. I think he's going to have a very good night getting to the line, and I think it's part of the Heat's game plan to actually get to the line as often as possible. You want to eliminate the transition opportunities that Indiana is going to be in because they are one of the 6th fastest teams in the league, and they just run up and down the court. So getting to the line there and having a big night for Jimmy is definitely something I expect. So go over.
I love ethical hoops, but I love winning more, and I think Jimmy Butler is going to have to get one of those games where he does have to get to the line and kind of slow things down a little bit because the Pacers, I mean, for whatever we thought they were going to be, they are a fun offense to watch, especially when they're in transition. We'll go to actually Bam Adebayo and Tyler Hero both also have 20.5 as their line. Which player has a better chance of going over tonight?
I'm going to go with Tyler Hero because Miles Turner is very good at contesting the area, the restricted area, excuse me. And I think Tyler is going to have better opportunities to get clean shots on the perimeter if Bam is actively screening for him, or whoever the front court is tonight is sacrificing their body. He's going to have open shots on the wing, which will also create lanes for him to drive to the hoop. But I think Bam will have a tougher time getting over 20 points because Miles Turner is going to be closer to the lane and Bam looks to attack mostly from the paint.
Okay. If Bam has a good game, I will be adding you on Twitter. So we'll see how that goes. And last for the Heat on the points line, we got Kyle Lowry, 11.5 points.
They've disrespected him that hard. Oh my goodness. I'm going to go with the over. I still think he's a solid pro. I don't trust the point of attack defense for Indiana too much. And again, if Miami's front court is doing a good job of screening, those shots will be there. Kyle is usually hit or miss from deep. And this season, I think about a third or almost a third of his shots are coming from 3-point range. And how the Heat season is going, he needs a big night. So I'm going to go over.
Okay. That's fair. And the last thing that we'll end with here, so we got Bam Adebayo, 34.5 points, rebounds, and assists. Are you going over or under on that?
What was the number for Bam? I'm sorry?
34.5 points, rebounds, assists.
Ooh, I'm going to go with the over. I think he's going to have a bigger night in rebounding and in the playmaking department. I think he's going to be active setting handoffs so guys can get runways to the rim. I think he's going to be very active crashing the defensive glass. He's going to want to mirror Miles Turner's movements on the court as much as possible when they're on the floor. So I'm going to go with the over.
Okay. Listen, I'm with it. I think Bam getting the over, getting those rebounds would be pretty good. Locking down that paint today against the Pacers would be very helpful for the Heat. So before we get into predictions, I just want to ask one question. What's one thing that you're looking forward to tonight, whether it's from the Pacers or the Heat? One thing you want to see?
Well, I really am liking a lot what I've seen from Haywood Highsmith. He's not my pick. I know that. I just wanted to give him a quick shout out. He was 7 of 10 from the field last game, 4 of 4 from 3-point range. Excellent. It'll probably earn him a lot more minutes in the future if he keeps this up. But the guy I want to see have a real huge night is Tyler Hero. He was having some of the best basketball of his career during the Heat's last win streak that is now over. He hit a game winner in Oklahoma City, followed the next night by 41 points on over 65% shooting. He is like on the cusp of taking the next step, and you have to beat or you have to show out against the teams that can't defend well. So he would be my pick, Gad.
Yeah, no, we look super similar. No, I like that. I think Tyler Hero keeping that momentum going would be huge for him, especially at home, going into this kind of like a mini homestand. I think they have 3 straight home games coming up soon. So that would be huge. One thing that I want to see from this game, we haven't seen the team have 13 of their 14 guys healthy the entire season. So we haven't seen it, right? And obviously you're going to wonder, okay, how do some of these pieces fit and this, that, and the other? I just want to know what Spo is going to play the rotation as, because a lot of the season we've seen him go 8 on nights where they probably could have gone deeper into the rotation. Is Spo going to go 8? Is he going to go 9? Is he going to go 10? And who is going to be the players getting those minutes? Who's going to be the guys getting the short end of the stick? Right. Because I mean, there's been players that have looked like NBA players over the last couple games, and now you have to wonder, okay, are these guys going to be sitting? Looking specifically at like a Haywood Highsmith, Duncan Robinson, Max Strus type. I feel like Depot's what he's done on the defensive end should earn him his keep in terms of being with that bench unit. But obviously, offensively, there are questions as to how he would fit would he fit with Jimmy and Bam at the same time on the floor? Who knows? And they already have a very strong guard rotation. Is Gabe Vincent going to play? I don't know. I'm not sure how that rotation is going to shake out. I'm excited to see it. And before we end here, Mateo, predictions for the Christmas Eve game that we're about to get.
I am going to go with a big night from the Miami Heat in the scoring department from Jimmy Butler and Tyler Hero. Again, in the rebounds for Bam Adebayo. But I'm going to go with a Heat win. And I think the biggest key to it is limiting the transition opportunities. Like we mentioned a moment ago, you cannot have guys like Benedict Mathurin and Therese Halliburton scoring on 2-on-1 fast breaks or 3-on-2s and just adding to the leads or just cutting a lead. So I'm going to go with a Heat W tonight because mostly they need it.
Yeah, I mean they've needed it almost the entire season, so we'll see if they're able to get back to 500. I'm also gonna go with a Heat win. I know they're favored by 6. I probably want to go Heat by 9. Maybe like I think they actually score a pretty decent amount too tonight. I want to say they get like 116 to quick math 107. That sounds about right to me. I am excited to see how the guard grouping of Caleb Martin, Victor Oladipo, Gabe Vincent, how those guys do against Tyrese Halliburton, because last time they shut him down.
Right.
They did a really good job on Halliburton. I don't think it's going to be easy to do that again against him. So I would expect him to probably get closer to his averages in terms of raw totals and points and assists and rebounds and all that good stuff. But I want to see them make him into an inefficient player and an inefficient passer. Can they force some more turnovers? That would be pretty exciting to watch. But I'm rolling with Heat victory tonight as well. Thank you guys for watching the Before Floor extravaganza that is just Mateo and I chopping it up over the Miami Heat. And do we have any last words for the people?
Yes, Bam Adebayo will make the All-Star team this year. Merry Christmas.
That's all I needed to hear. You just made my Christmas.
Sure.
So with
Feel
all
better,
that
too.
being said, I think we're going to go ahead and kick it over to Alejandro to close us out for some player interviews. And let's go Heat.
Was there any particular aspect when you felt it got away from you in their run there in the second half when they distanced themselves?
I mean, it was a series of plays. I think we had 2 turnovers, and then they got some easy buckets as well. It felt like before I called that first timeout, I think they were shooting like I don't even remember them missing in that beginning of the third quarter. I know they did. But that allowed them to get right back into it and grab momentum, and then they took it from there, and then just continued to outplay us in the second half. Our guys competed. It wasn't a matter of that. It was a matter of doing things with precision on both ends, and doing it collectively. Then once they started to knock down some shots, they have some shot makers. And I'm sure the basket just seemed to get bigger and bigger and bigger as that second half went on.
Tyler and Bam seemed to have it working pretty well in the first half. Did they get jammed up in the second half, or were they just creating good looks that weren't falling?
Probably a little bit of both. They were trapping Tyler a lot, so we didn't see that really for the last few games. Although we're expecting more teams to do that. And we generated some really good looks in the first half. In the second half, I thought we still had some good looks. The part that, we'll continue to get better at is regardless of whether the shots are going down or not, that shouldn't affect our focus or energy on the other end. And for whatever reason, on the road trip, actually for the last 3 weeks, we'd really have been developing that mental stability and grit to be able to withstand, some misses and still be able to defend and get stops. In the second half, I think the missed shots affected a little bit of our resolve on the other end. And like I said, they have shot makers, so if they sense that, feel that, make some shots, then it can turn into more.
This is a bit more big picture, and obviously you don't have some of your guys tonight, but during that trip you had mentioned that you felt like in the second half of the season you're seeing a trend for the offense that's going upwards. What kind of indicators are you looking at as far as the offense?
Tonight probably wasn't the greatest indicator of that. We were just trying to do whatever we needed to do to get this win. So we ended up, shooting a ton of threes. They did a good job protecting, the paint, but I think our paint attacks have been trending in a much better way the last 2 or 3 weeks. tonight I think it was a little bit easier for them to scheme and kind of give us some open looks from three. That also could be extremely dangerous. We're combustible. If our guys see a two or three go down, that can be floodgates, for our guys. But when we have a few more of our guys, certainly that ability to attack the paint, attack the rim, put a little bit more pressure in those areas, so it can work hand in hand. So we're not just only living by whether we're making threes or not.
You're obviously playing against highly skilled offensive players that they have. What bothered you, though, from a defensive standpoint? Were you late on switches? Were there holes in the zone that troubled you? What bothered you defensively?
No, Bear, I think probably more than anything, the thing that we have not been giving up would be the one trigger scores in the last several weeks. We've really been shoring that up and making that a lot tougher, that you're going to have to run multiple actions. You're going to have to really work your offense to be able to get a good, clean look, whether we're man or zone. We uncharacteristically gave up in the second half one pass shots or one trigger shots, where they weren't burning a lot of calories, to score. And I think that's an aberration, and also they have super highly skilled offensive players. Like I said, if they see a few go down, then they start to make quite a few shots.
Coach Haywood started tonight. Can you talk about his performance and what he represents in a night like tonight where you need people to step up?
He's been playing well. It has nothing to do with whether he's making shots. That's when everybody else will notice. But he's played really well for the last 5 or 6 weeks. He's been very impactful defensively. He's playing his role offensively. He's pretty good on the baseline. He's good at getting guys, open shots on triggers, and he's really working diligently on his shooting. So that's going to improve. But defensively, he's a presence for sure.
Hi, Coach. Throughout the last couple of seasons, you've talked a lot about the responsibility that Bam has offensively. With him being able to grab and go and kind of ignite your early offense, how have you felt about his balance between attacking early or getting others involved with handoffs and things like that?
I thought he made all the right decisions in the first half. We were a little disjointed from some of the misses in the second half, so it was tough to evaluate how that went. But yeah, I think anytime that we're able to get to some kind of pick and roll and or any kind of action with Bam, and if they brought a second defender, he was making all the right reads. If they didn't bring a second defender, he was really efficient getting to the rim. I thought that was great. In the second half, I just think, we missed probably a few too many open shots, and I think that affected us. There was a couple of 15-point leads they had where I really felt like it could have been a 6 or 7, 8-point lead for them instead, and I think that's what we saw on the road trip, that we were able to hold the fort, regardless of whether we were making shots or not.
Vic's first start since that last game at the end of last season. Just your thoughts on this kind of minutes. Obviously had to be more of a volume shooter than maybe he wanted to be, just stepping into this as maybe the next step in his further progression.
I love where Vic is right now. I didn't really want to do that tonight. I wanted to keep him progressing and gaining confidence in his role coming off the bench, but we had 3 starters out at some point. I have to make a move and put him in the starting lineup. As it was, I was playing guys huge minutes. I wouldn't have done this with Vic tonight if it wasn't clearly communicated with him and with the training staff, and if we didn't have 2 days after the last game, 2 days before the next game. But once we get fully healthy, I want to just continue to have him gain more confidence in his role off the bench, which he's been doing great with.
Eric, I apologize because it's not game related, but tomorrow the Hall of Fame is going to release the ballot, which is the first step toward next summer. How much are you looking forward to this process with Dwayne and all the accolades that are going to come his way in the next few months?
I can't wait for it because we all know how Dwayne is. Like, he's going to throw a party that's going to be one for the ages. And I've only been to the Hall of Fame twice for Pat's party, which was unbelievable. That was a lot of fun because all the Laker crew was there, and I'm still a fan and a historian of the game, so that one was really fun. CB's was incredible, and it was cool just to get the whole gang back together. And I think this will take it to a whole nother level. And I know I do have some summer engagements, but I ain't missing it. I'll fly back from wherever I have to fly back to for that weekend. All right, thank you.
Continuity when there is no lineup continuity, unfortunately, because of guys being out like this?
It's definitely tough, but it's part of the NBA season. You know, guys get banged up, guys get different things that keep them out of games, and you got to make adjustments, and you got to be ready to perform when your name's called.
What didn't it feel like you had during the 4-game road winning streak, besides bodies obviously of guys? What didn't happen tonight that had happened last week?
I just felt like our disposition on the road was much higher than it was today. We had a level of urgency. We're connected as a team, and all things that we're capable of and that we've shown consistently before. We just had to continue to do that and show that on a consistent basis.
There were a few moments in the game defensively where it looked like they were just kind of having their way. How much is that a communication, or maybe just the guys in the court not used to being in the lineups together, and how much is it just didn't have a good night?
A little bit of both. They were making plays and making shots as well. It was a tough night on both ends for us. I think we just had to watch the film and bounce back.
Tyler, it seemed like you and Bam, your pick and roll combination, you guys had it going pretty well in the first half. Did they jam you up in the second half, or did you feel like you guys were still creating what you wanted to create?
I thought our offense was definitely better in the first half. Just finding open shots, getting to whatever shot we wanted really in the first half, whether shots were falling or not. And I think in the second half, we created, enough good shots. We weren't able to make them.
Beyond obviously just not having all your bodies most of the season, 12 different starting lineups in 32 games. Is that a challenge, Tyler, to play with that many different groups to open games?
Yeah, of course. Any time there's different guys in the lineup, it's always an adjustment. But I think from game to game, there's different guys out. It's never the same guys, and right now we're just trying to do whatever we can to get wins.
Has your confidence with the way he's been playing over the past few weeks, has your confidence in Haywood been going up just as far as hitting him as a shooter?
Oh yeah, I've always had confidence in H. From the beginning of the season, he's somebody who can step out there and be a lockdown defender and hit open threes.
Thank you.
Vic, even coach said, only because he knew he had 2 days before off and 2 days off after, he didn't want to push you. But he said he wanted you to get comfortable in that second unit, understand your role, but desperate times call for having to make some kind of calls like that. What's it like for you? This is your first start since the end of last season in Orlando, and obviously your first start in a long time in a meaningful game. What was it like to be out there for the opening tip?
I started in Game 5. That was pretty meaningful,
okay.
But it's basketball. You can't. It's a game. It's a roller coaster. It's a season, so you can't expect the same thing every time. So it is what it is. I just went out there and played as hard as I could for as long as I could, and unfortunately, we came up short. On to the next.
How is it for you and for all the guys, but for you in particular, just night in, night out, it's so one guy in, one guy out. This guy starts, this guy's on the bench. I mean, I gotta imagine that's hard, not as an excuse for what's been happening in these games, but how hard is that?
I mean, we all go to work, and things aren't necessarily the way we want them to be, but you just got to go to work and do it to the best of your ability. So I could sit here and say that, and, but it's not going to change anything. You know what I'm saying? I've been through too much to have any excuses for anything. So just get ready for the next game.
Vic, you played 34 minutes tonight. At this point with the knee and the recovery, is there a minute number that doctors think you shouldn't surpass at a game, or is there basically no limit at this point?
I'm not sure. I would have to go talk to them and see. But, like I said, just going out there and just playing, it's been obviously a different year for me, for the team in general. Just, it's just different. But, at the end of the day, just you got to keep trucking along, man. You got to keep fighting, keep playing, and we'll figure it out.
For someone like you who's fought so hard to get back to where you want to be or closer to it, is there a part of you that says, come on, just let us be whole. Let's just see what this team is like, instead of sort of coming to work and hearing, oh, Jimmy doesn't feel good or Kyle still has to miss another game. Is there if not frustration, maybe disappointment in that when the team is whole, what it might be able to really achieve?
Honestly, no. To be honest with you, I don't. I have no control over that. You know what I'm saying? When the time is right, the time will be right. You know what I'm saying? When we all together, we'll all be together, and then we go as we go. But you just gotta come in and focus what's in front of you, and just go out there and do it to the best of your ability. It was obviously it's a little different. I ain't been starting. I ain't been really, starting and playing big minutes. It's been an adjustment, but I had to go out there and do it to the best of my ability. Unfortunately, we came up short. We got another game on Friday, I believe, so we got to get ready for that one. And who's ever ready, we got to go out there and play. No excuses. Play as hard as we can and figure out a way to win.
Just on tonight, is there anything Chicago did to slow you guys down offensively in the second half, or did you feel like you're mostly getting what you wanted?
I think we got pretty good looks. I think we missed a lot of good looks. I know I did. That I know for a fact I can make. So a couple of them I think went in and out. So credit them though. Obviously they played well. They needed what they needed to do. They did what they needed to do to get the win. But I think obviously I got to watch the film as well. But I think we missed some open ones, some good ones. And we couldn't really get the stops we needed, or if we did get a stop, they seemed to smack it and then get into somebody else's hands on their team and they score a layup or something crazy like that. So overall it was just a tough night, but it happens, man. It's 82 games. It happens in the NBA. So it's about how you bounce back from it.
Vic, no Jimmy, no Kyle tonight. It looked like you were asked to drive and kick even more than you usually are. How's that first step feeling right now?
I feel pretty good. I feel really good. It just it was new. I ain't been asked to do much at all. Obviously I've been asked to do something, but not that much. In a while. So but it's okay. It was good to get my feet wet. Feel good. Doing more. Hopefully I can continue to keep getting better. So when I'm asked to do more, I'll be ready for it.
All right, thank you.
They're different players, but do you see it as similar at all to what Duncan was going through earlier last year? As a slump the shooters got to shoot through, basically.
Look, each guy, it's a different deal. So I don't necessarily think you can compare. I think the more relevant thing is, and it's not an excuse, it's just a reality. With the moving parts, we've shifted Max's role 3 or 4 different times this year, and it is hard for shooters to have great rhythm and flow when just the foundational role is changing a lot. Okay, now we have empathy and understanding about that. I think as we're starting to get healthier, I think that role clarity will help. 3-point, ignitable guys need that flow. need a rhythm, need a synergy with everybody to get that confidence. And that's what we've been working on, and I think that's going to help all of our shooters. I'm already seeing like the quality of our shots improving. And then it's a matter of them seeing two go in a row, and then they take care of the rest. The ignitability and the flammability, like that just happens at that point. But there's some better things happening for us offensively. I really like the shots we generated, particularly in the first half the other night. When we start getting guys back together, I think there's going to be a great balance between our rim pressure, paint pressure, and our three-point shooting. When we have guys out, it's just by any means necessary. And if other teams know that we're just kind of tapping into one specific part of the menu, it becomes a little bit easier to defend.
You guys are up to 8th, I think, in three-point attempts, but you're not where you want to be in percentage. Has it been a challenge to kind of keep the attempts up while the shots might not be going in at the rate that you want yet?
No, not necessarily. I see that trending in a better direction. And again, I think it's the balance. I think as we get guys back, I think we're going to have a real good balance of paint pressure and threes. And I think that synergy between the two is already happening. It hasn't necessarily affected the result, but the process, I feel much better about this process the last 2 or 3 weeks than I did 6 weeks ago.
Tyler's mentioned the importance a couple times of shooting quickly off the catch. What does that do to your offense? How does that help?
His diversity and versatility is paramount for him and for us. If it only becomes pick and roll basketball, it can be schemed. And, that's what we saw with the Bulls and what we've seen, with the majority of the teams. They're going to trap those pick and rolls and get the ball out of his hands. We do have some counters for that, and we're getting better, and he's getting much more comfortable getting trapped. But he has an ability with a lot of those high usage guys that are only, pick and roll guys. Tyler can just as effectively play out off the ball. And that's much more difficult to scheme against. So he's being a lot more assertive on those plays, and then he gets his steady diet of pick and rolls as well.
Jimmy with his illness and Kyle with his knee, how they've been feeling the last 24 hours.
They both practiced today.
And then
It was good. It was good, Jim. Yeah.
Gotcha. And then Jim Larinaga, the UM coach, was nominated for the Naismith Hall of Fame.
Was he really?
Yeah.
Jeez, where was my been? That's incredible.
Yeah, I know you've worked with him a bit.
That's so awesome. Well, I mean, and so deserving. I mean, he's won with multiple programs. I just love the way he builds a program, and that's at all levels. They play a fun style of basketball. They bring in, high quality student athletes, and they also generates like an interest in the program. But I think that's because of his personality and his enthusiasm and his passion. If you spend any time with him, you're drawn to him. He's super approachable and a really a fun guy to be around. But his basketball acumen is Hall of Fame worthy. He's top of the food chain at what he does. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.